Prodigals and disorders. In this session, I want to briefly talk about disorders. Now, as a psychologist who has treated thousands of prodigals, there are a handful of disorders that can occur as the heart darkens, pulls away from God, are just purely chemical imbalances that may be nobody's fault whatsoever because of extreme drug usage or just even the inheritance of those issues. Now, chemical disorders are not anyone's fault. Examples of a chemical disorder: bipolar 1, bipolar 2. These are mood disorders, and they tend to go up and down in their moods regularly and can be reactive. Manic depression, that's a way up, way down mood stuff that is chemical based. Schizophrenia is a chemical disorder. Now, chemical disorders, you did not cause these disorders, but it might be important to understand this if your prodigal struggles with a chemical disorder, and definitely get some information on that so that you can understand that, the devil didn't make medicine, okay? I've heard some Christians say, I don't want them taking medicine. Well, if they have a chemical imbalance, you really do want them to take medicine because the medicine can help them get their life back. Okay, I'm not a strong proponent of medications unless it's absolutely necessary. I'm more holistic, natural, I get that. But I also understand there's a time and a place. If someone is genuinely, legitimately, they've been assessed that they have a chemical disorder, to get treatment for that. And that can help them get their thoughts back, get their life back, okay? Now, psychological disorders come about for several reasons. The known reasons for the soul adapts to survive the abuse, trauma, neglect, and as the soul is trying to survive and adapts, it can create a psychological disorder. This can also happen as the heart hardens due to sin and choices or beliefs, trying to function in an increasingly darker life. The soul has to adapt and change, and this is hard on the soul, okay? And so the soul might actually create some disorders because we were created in order. God created us all in order. God is a God of order. But as we continue down the path of sin, we can set up scenarios where we actually disorder our own soul. Now, I want to just talk about a few of these because they might be something that your particular prodigal is struggling with. And I know we spend a lot of time discussing the prodigal's stuff. We will get into the parent process, but it's really important that you understand the complexity of being a prodigal. It's not as simple as just rejecting God. Once you reject God, how you start to adapt to that decision can lead to a myriad of issues that they're going to have to heal and walk through as they move towards healing. One of these disorders can be depression. Let me give you some of the characteristics of that. Thoughts of feelings of worthlessness, low energy, difficulty concentrating, difficulty making decisions, significant weight loss or gain, difficulty sleeping, suicidal thoughts, low sex drive. Those are issues that someone with depression could have. And if they have several of those, it can be several things. For depression, there is chemical depression. There is depression as it relates to grief and loss. There is depression that can happen just because of guilt and shame. There is depression because of low thyroid, could create depression symptoms. Low testosterone can create symptoms. So if someone has depression, there's kind of a journey on trying to figure out what is causing that. And I would encourage you to get those all tested and evaluated before you get onto anything that is a mood altering. Now, borderline personality disorder is a significant disorder. And if your prodigal is dealing with this, it's going to need probably professional help on several different levels. This prodigal might need a lot of support getting back. They have feelings of emptiness, emotional instability, frantic efforts to avoid any type of real or imagined abandonment. If they feel that they're getting rejected, they can go off. An unstable sense of self, sometimes characterized between thinking that they're really good and really bad. Identity disturbances, not knowing really who they are. Impulsive in at least a couple areas like spending, sex, substance abuse, food, or other things. Intense and inappropriate anger. Outbursts like rages. Unstable and intense relationships where they really over-idealize somebody. Oh, this is the magic person in my life. and then they hate them with all their heart. And this goes on again and again and again. Suicidal threats or behaviors could be part of borderline personality disorder. And this person inside, they feel very disorganized, and everywhere they go, there seems to be like chaos follows them. And there's relationship damage everywhere in their life. It's not just you parents, it's everywhere. They can't maintain relationships, and they get really excited about something and then it's awful. That kind of instability. Now, if there's something that's going on like this, I'll recommend shortly how to maybe assess that. But it's really important you just see some of those features. You can do some research on that. If it fits, there's going to be treatment that you're going to need to have. That person's going to need to choose to have, and that can be a journey all by itself. The antisocial personality disorder isn't one I see a lot about, but when I see it, it's pretty hard on the parent. This is a person who has disregard for right or wrong. Like it doesn't seem that there's the chip of right and wrong seems to be missing. They persistently lie or deceive others or exploit others, like taking money, borrowing cars and not returning them, doing stuff like that. They seem to be really callous, cynical, disrespectful of others. They don't value the souls of people around them at all. It seems like there's no value to people. They use charm or wit to manipulate others for personal gain or pleasure. And this might be where someone who's using people for sexual romantic relationships again and again and again. They tend to have an arrogance or a sense of superiority, being extremely opinionated, like they're right and everyone else is wrong. Recurring problems with the law, including criminal behavior, not paying taxes, trying to avoid consequences for that. Repeatedly violating the rights of others through intimidation and dishonesty, really being a bully. Impulsive or failure to plan ahead. They can't seem to stay on a track. Okay? Hostility, significant irritability, agitation, aggression or violence, a lack of empathy towards others, or any remorse about what they're doing causing pain. Unnecessary risk-taking or dangerous behaviors with no regard for the safety of self or others, like crazy stuff. Poor or abusive relationships. Failure to be able to consider negative consequences of behaviors or learn from them. It's like they've done this before and they can't seem to put it together that it has a consequence. Being consistently irresponsible, repeatedly failing to fulfill work or financial obligations. They just won't show up. They don't pay the bill, that kind of stuff. And they don't seem to be able to put it together that this has happened before in their life. The antisocial personality disorder is one that if they struggle with can be a real challenge for you, because they're going to constantly try to manipulate you into doing these extravagant things for them, and there's no change. And there's no remorse for the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars you've put into whatever their scheme is. And this is a real deal. Again, this is just one of several disorders. Let me go through one more. Narcissism. If they have an addiction, they might seem really narcissistic to you, but usually they are immature due to an addiction, and they can have some of the very similar characteristics, but they're actually not a narcissist. I have a lot of ladies who go on the internet and they think their husbands are narcissists, and we've tested hundreds of them, and they're not narcissists. Okay? But this is what a narcissist is. Now remember, if they have an active addiction, do not apply this, because they could most likely be just immature because of an addiction. They have an exaggerated sense of self-importance. They have a sense of entitlement and require constant and excessive admiration. They expect to be recognized as superior without achievements that warrant that. They exaggerate any achievements that they do have or talents that they do have. They're preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the ideal mate. They believe they are superior and can only be associated with special people. They monopolize conversations and belittle or look down on people that they perceive as inferior. They expect special favors and unquestionable compliance with their expectations. They take advantage of others to get what they want. They have an inability or willingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. They are envious of others and believe others are envious of them. They behave in an arrogant or haughty manner, coming across as conceited. They insist on having the best of everything. Now, once a prodigal returns to God and is healing, if you feel that any of these diagnoses need to be addressed, you need to take them to a real psychologist and have them have a real psychological test, okay, to find out what's going on. And I'm not talking about just taking them to a local counselor or even a pastor. I'm talking about getting a real psychological test. It's almost like a body scan, so that you can see how the soul has been damaged through the prodigal process. They can see it, and that will describe if there is a real disorder of the soul that they're going to have to reorder, okay, to really get well. Now, the way I describe a disorder is a photograph of the soul. Boom, this is a photograph. Now, we are completely neuroplastic, and with new strategies, new disciplines, and new insights, often a person can move away from that photograph and create a whole new movie of becoming a wonderful person. Now, again, as a parent, you did not cause this, okay? It might be part of their journey to come back to the Father. It might be their journey to heal from the damage of years or decades of poor choices, but this is not your responsibility. Although as a parent, it might be helpful if you can get them a psychological test or have them do that to see if there's anything that they need to address. So as they heal, they can stay healed. They can stay moving forward, and they can stay following Jesus, okay? Again, you didn't cause it. You can't cure it. And it is 100% their responsibility to take this path of healing.